Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. About 7 topics for this video. It seems like the Russians are waiting for an imminent attack on the Kerch Bridge. According to the Ukrainians, the Russians are beefing up their defenses and the Kerch Bridge. I will show you this article coming from Ukrinform from the Ukrainians and the maps associated with this location of the beautiful bridge that I think will be eventually dismantled, that is destroyed. I know some people don't like me talk like that, but that's a negative prediction or positive for others. Second topic, the Russians conducted a test of their intercontinental ballistic missile Sarmat. It failed. Now, some people are applauding, some people maybe take note. I have some pictures with the aftermath of the failed launch, and we'll discuss what could the West learn from the Russian missile test failure. Is that like an indication? Hey guys, see that? And that is without a nuclear warhead. Imagine what could happen if a Sarmat falls on, I don't know, somewhere west. I don't know, we're going to discuss that one. We have some satellite images of the aftermath. Then we have an, how should I put it, an infantile prime minister of Denmark. And she comes, I will go over her bio, and I'm going to talk about her education so you understand her way of, her worldview, put it this way. And she thinks that we need to stop discussing Russian red lines. Why we and not just you? I tell you why. Because they're cowards. They like to operate in packs. You know, numbers give them courage. We're going to discuss about this Danish prime minister with her imbecilic statement. We're going to go over her bio. I'm going to discuss how big Denmark is, because if you remember, and if you don't, I'll let you know, the Netherlands and Denmark were the biggest, plus the Baltic states and Poland, the biggest yappers. But none of them would dare to challenge the bear. Why is that? Well, remember, Denmark was the country who allowed NSA, American intelligence services, to penetrate the European info market and get access through that Denmark little door open to Angela Merkel's personal phone, if you remember. Hey, that was okay. Why? Because the boss wants to check on you. You have anything to hide? This is what the police officers tell you. Are you hiding anything? Yes, my privacy. Fuck off. Then we have Lammy, de Lammy. De Lammy, this is the foreign minister of a great country of Great Britain. And Mr. de Lammy, because he's French, you know, he again talks about the permission to strike deep inside Russia. I think that these guys are trying to put together a narrative. The Russian missiles don't work. They will not use nuclear weapons in their threats. Why? Because we crossed their red lines before and they didn't do anything. Therefore, don't worry if they threaten you and us with nuclear strikes. It's not gonna happen. Now, if it happens, these guys you will not find around. Why? They will be inside their bunkers while you will be watching the little fire coming toward you. So then we have the Netherlands, another country that is shitty small, but with big mouth and very important somehow. And it donates, the Netherlands donates 3 Patriot systems to Ukraine. Why do you need to donate? Well, there's 2 reasons. Could be more than that, obviously, but we get to the main ones. One is you donate because the other one were fucked up already, or you donate because you just want to protect more Ukraine. Well, we'll find out, right, with time, which of the 2 most likely scenarios is valid. Next one, we have here, we're going to discuss also how big the Netherlands is or are. And we're going to go to The Guardian, USA, which definitely tells us if you don't do what these guys want you to do, or if you don't say what these guys, and I'm going to identify who those guys are, want you to say, then you're not a moral person. So if you don't, in unison, regimented, condemn something or approve something that, according to their morality, you are a very deprived or perverted person. And I'm going to show you the subject on this one. It's about a dynasty. And the last topic here, we have Zelenskyy, the president of Ukraine, visits the United States of America. And I think this is the garbage visit that he conducts in a Pennsylvania ammunition plant. So yes, Zelenskyy goes to a US ammunition plant to ask for more money, and thank you very much, people. Go and work for freedom and democracy. All right, so let's start with the beginning, which is coming from Ukrinform. And this article is from the 22nd of September 2024. Russians installing towers with air defense systems on Tuzla Spit to protect Crimea Bridge. So, and you have there a tower on the bridge. The occupiers are installing air defense systems on towers on Tuzla Spit near the Kerch Strait. So where is that located? This is the map of Ukraine. This right here is the Crimean Peninsula, and the Crimean Bridge obviously is to the east on the Kerch Strait, with right here. This is the Sea of Azov, this is the Black Sea, this is Sevastopol here, this is the Crimean Peninsula, here is the Kerch Bridge. This is where the Russians are installing their new air defense systems, because I think that pretty soon the guys in the West, using their Ukrainian vassals, will try to destroy that marvelous construction, civilian construction. Yeah, it could be used for porn movies, it could be used for, I don't know, military, crossing it, for many things, but mainly it's a civilian communication bridge. So it's a civilian target. Nevertheless, these guys will blow it up. How? By flooding the Russian air defense systems, as they did with that, that's my assessment, negative prediction. That's the way they will do. They will eventually destroy it with the Storm Shadow missiles. They will send hundreds of drones, and they will send just as a decoy, with not even explosives. Then we'll send the ones with explosives, and then at the end they will send the missiles. And you're gonna see that you're gonna have a few strikes on the Crimean Bridge. I am waiting for that. Not like I'm waiting. I think that's the way these guys will do it. And we'll see. Time will tell. So let's see. And the Russians know it. That's why they're installing more. And I'm quoting, on Tuzla Island, next to the Kerch Bridge, the Russians are installing metal towers with platforms on which air defense systems are being placed to protect the illegally built bridge across the Kerch Strait, the reporter said. Now, between you and I, let's say someone comes and builds some, let's say, illegally occupies something in your let's say, room or your house or on your land. And then during this illegal occupation, they will build something fantastic. Then you take over after you push them out. Isn't that something fantastic? They build it for you, suckers. But no, they want to destroy it. Why? Because it's a symbol of Russian ingenuity and really civil engineering brains. And that could not be shown to these baboons, who I can remember when was the last time they built such a bridge. I'm talking about, yes, the greatest country in the world and the West in general. You show me that. All right. So nevertheless, I think this is the longest bridge. I think there's one in Sweden that is competing with this one or something. Or nevertheless, that's what they try to do. And they will, as I said, eventually destroy it. Now, there's a next article. We're going to go to the Sarmat issue. Here, this comes from Ukrinform. This is from the 23rd of September 2024. Russian Sarmat missile test ends in flop. Okay, well, that's a reality. Accidents happen. That's the way it is. I wonder if Ukrinform reports the successful NASA launches in space, or the guys who are stuck in space at this point. I don't know if these guys are going to report what kind of rockets the Americans are using for their rocket engines, for what the Americans are using to shoot their astronauts in space. Well, that's why the truth should be seen from different angles. That's how you find it. Otherwise, you're just gonna see, you see this? If I show you this like in this angle, and I say, what is this? You can say, well, that's a mouse. Well, the mouse could be looking like this as well. The mouse could be looking like this. That's why I have to look over the issues from as many angles to understand it better. All right, so let's go and see what these guys say. Russia's test of the Rs-28 Sarmat intercontinental ballistic missile was a failure, as the missile detonated in the silo, leaving a huge crater and destroying the test site. So that means basically what I think they tried to communicate to the baboons. The Russian missiles don't work, and they threaten you with that exact Sarmat missile. Therefore, sit tight. They can't do it, and they won't do it. We're going to make the decision to strike inside Russia, regardless of their garbage red lines. Why? Did you hear these guys say the Russian missiles don't work? There you go. That's the evidence for you. All right, so this is it. Next one. New satellite images reveal failed launch of Sarmat intercontinental ballistic missile used by Putin for intimidation. You got the message? So this is the one, the only one the Russians have, the Sarmat. This is the only one that Russia has to hit, I don't know, London, or let's say Paris or Berlin. But I hope the Russians don't do that, because that's not where the real owners of what's going on over there are residing. Okay, look for them somewhere else. You don't need a nuclear weapon over there. You need a platoon, or a special forces group, and they could talk to who's in charge, really who's in charge. So here is a picture of that provided by these guys. So this is the test site, and this is the aftermath. Now if you look at this, you could see, and I think there's more pictures here, you can see what the destruction is if this just detonates over there. I mean, without the warhead installed. So this right there, the site, if this falls on, it's an example. Look at these guys. All right, if that ends up in a city, only detonated. This is the fuel probably used for, obviously, getting that missile going. If this just goes over there without the warhead, you are done. Remember, the Russians don't have only the Sarmat missiles to strike. So don't be fooled. They have bunkers. You and I don't. Okay? Next one. We have a baboon here, and a really baboon. Ukrainska Pravda. We need to stop discussing Russian red lines and lift ban on use of weapons. Danish Prime Minister. First, who is we? Right, let's see. Danish Prime Minister believes that Ukraine's allies should cease being hesitant to help the country in its fight and let the weapons provided be used against Russia. And she says it has been a mistake during this war to have a public discussion. So your opinion or your approval not needed about red lines, and that is simply giving the Russians too good a card in their hands. It would be really good to stop the delays there have been, and I think that the restrictions on the use of weapons should be lifted. Fredriksson said, okay, well, you can have a point. The problem is, have you noticed that when you have a small country with, they usually talk about we, and they talk about the Americans hitting American weapons and probably American operatives using those long strikes inside Russia, because as the Russians said, without the American satellites and the guys providing the info and so on, intelligence on this, those long strikes would not be capable You can't do it. Therefore, these guys are implicated. Not not the Danish prime minister will be. No. A Danish prime minister is the hyena. Not even a hyena. Hyena is strong. A jackal. A jackal. If you saw, I always use this as an example because it's very revealing. If you remember Simba, the Lion King, you have the imbecile Simba, the good Lion King, the pussified king, actually, lion, and you have the other one, Scar. Now, needless to say, Scar was my favorite. Why? He had not only charm, he had, how do you call that, class. The other one was a wimpy little fucker, pussified, that women actually don't want, they want Scar. So anyway, it's not only that, but that's one example, one point. So Scar, as he is, he's got around, he's the only one with real power. The other ones are his hyenas, who are very verbal when they are around Scar. Remember? When they are caught alone, a hyena or a jackal, caught alone by Simba, they're all so one-on-one, they are weak. Together, the hyenas plus Scar, now obviously Scar is the United States of America, they're all tough. But together, they are strong. It's like that little story with an elephant and a mouse. And together, they start crossing a bridge, a wooden bridge. And the whole world is, like shaking. And the mouse looks at elephant and say, "Hey, elephant, can you hear how strong we trample here?" We. They were both trampling. All the noise was we, not he. We. The same. This is Denmark, the little mouse over there, saying that we should do things. Now, why don't you just go and take Russia? I'm going to show you, or take on Russia. I'm going to show you Denmark for you, okay? Just to make sure that we're not, talking BS. Denmark is this country that you will not see on the map. Denmark. So we're going to go to the population. A population of nearly 6 million. So that country, that this woman, not that one, this one, but it's a relation. There's a relation between this and that. You'll see. I will make it now that it just came to my mind. Why? Because here we have her, and her education is has a master's degree in African Studies at the University of Copenhagen. So she has a master in African Studies, not in Danish studies or European studies or European civilization, no, African Studies. All right, you got it? All right. So this is what she is, this person. And she is like 40 something. She's born in 1977, this person. Okay, so just to make sure that we got this covered. So Denmark has nearly 6 million people. And I want you to look over this map. And the darker green is Denmark in Europe. All right? You got it? You see it? Oh, you have troubles seeing it? It's right there. Or my little strong hand covered the entire country of Denmark with 6 million people. Now, these guys want to fight the Russians, not alone, mind you, not alone. And we have here from the Russians, Russia Today, NATO member calls for end to Ukraine red lines. Why? Because she's not going to be affected. You are going to be affected. And did you see the Sarmat missiles that don't work? And we crossed Russia's red lines many times. So sit tight, watch, get your popcorn, and enjoy, because nothing will happen to you. Just go to work, pay your taxes, all right? Keep your masks on while you drive alone, get your boosters, and most importantly, shut the fuck up, all right? This is what is wanted from a newly economic slave, obedient slave, that it seems like that's all we are required. The rest, don't worry about it. They live their lives. All right, so let's go to the next article here, and we have Mr. de Lammy. De Lammy, or Le Lammy, Ukrainian form, is the foreign minister, or right, is he, of Great Britain. This English guy, all right, Lammy, because I know they like to be Deschamps and D'Angelo and all that, so they're French. Or Miss, what's her name? The Corinne Jean-Pierre, the spokesperson of the White House. I don't want to mistake her identity. Jesus Christ. So, British Foreign Minister Secretary David Lammy, I would put over there some other name, but anyway, has said that delicate negotiations with the White House to allow Ukraine to use Storm Shadow missiles inside Russia are ongoing, arguing it was a time for nerve and guts, because you got a big guts, I can tell you that, but I don't know if you got nerves. So this is the guy. So don't worry, the Russians won't do it. It's, yeah, and who's exactly sitting across from this de Lammy baboon? Who? Another baboon, Biden? I think so. And Biden, baboonish, Biden will talk with baboonish de Lammy, and they will have, or maybe it's the other baboon, what's his name? Blinkenstein? Yeah, I think he makes more decisions than Biden. And we have the Netherlands. The Netherlands, I'm going to show you, plans to supply Ukraine with 3 Patriot systems very soon, very soon. And this, I don't know, 13-year-old, I don't know, defense minister Ruben Brekelmans, right? As someone used to say, my underwear are older than this guy. He's right here. I can only talk about what we have delivered. We have delivered a radar system and we'll deliver 3 launchers very soon. We are also trying to find other elements that are needed to complete the system. All right, you send them 3. Okay, no problem. The Netherlands, very good, very good. Netherlands to send 3 Patriot launchers to Ukraine. And we have the Netherlands, the country of Netherlands. Now I'm going to show you the map. And I want you to play the same game we played before. Can you spot Netherlands? Oh yeah. Let's see if my strong hand can cover it. Oh, it can. All right, there you go. So this is the country together with the Denmark, which is right there where my hand is. These guys are very strong and very tough on Russia. Nuclear power, 145 million people. These guys are what? About 19 or 17 million. How many are you guys over there? I don't know how many are, how do you call it, Dutch people, but nevertheless, you fuck yourselves as the whole Europe is trying to be, with a population of 17.9. So that's 18 million people on that little thing over there, that the Russians, if they really get upset, or anybody else, if they really get upset on them, they don't have to strike right there. They can strike next, and that will create such a tsunami that their levees will be overwhelmed, and then the Dutch people will just migrate with their little boats, not boats, how do you call these things? Not kayaks, because they didn't have shafts. They didn't know what a kayak is. They will go back to their countries. All right, let's move on to the next one. And in this little article, we know that George W. Bush will not come against Trump. But we also know from The Guardian that whomever doesn't come against Trump is morally, defective. Here it is. This article comes from you originally from The Guardian, but press reader got it to me because, that's the way it is. When you find it somewhere, then you don't find anymore because, let me show you what I got here from The Guardian. The original article is here, right there. The Guardian, morally defensive, but I couldn't find it, only provided by the presser, but it's the same thing. Morally indefensible. Says who? Says who? Who are the judges? I would like to know, and who appointed them as judges, and let's see if we agree with them as being our judges of character. But George W. Bush will not come out against Trump. Now, George W. Bush doesn't have the most moral record, let's put it this way, with the illegal invasion of Ukraine, Jesus Christ, Iraq and Afghanistan. So, the MSNBC host, this is playing games, we don't like it. The NBC host Lawrence O'Donnell this week hit out at George W. Bush, the Republican former president, for refusing to weigh in on America's looming presidential election. So this host, who's just an employee, talks with this guy and says all any decent person wants, remember this one, him to do is to say, don't vote for Donald Trump, and here's why. So this imbecile, O'Donnell, says that any decent person. So if you don't want that from George W. Bush to say it, you're not decent. All any decent person wants him to do is to say, don't vote for Donald Trump, and here is why. And he won't even do that, O'Donnell told Pop. Got it? And the reason is because right here, morally indefensible. Bush's Vice President Dick Cheney and his daughter, loser Liz Cheney, who's pop, she also endorsed. Remember, in my books, George W. Bush is a war criminal for invading. That's my gut feeling. That's my opinion. Dick Cheney, the same way. Donald Rumsfeld, the same way. He's dead, right? And Colin Powell as well. He's dead as well. So all these guys, most people in the U.S. administration who illegally bombarded for a lie Iraq and Afghanistan, these are war criminals. Now, if they're not, then I don't want to hear about Putin. The same. I don't want to hear about Putin until you go to Bill Clinton. You go to Madeleine Albright, who's already dead. You go to Hillary Clinton. You go to Obama. You go to these guys. You go to this imbecile, what's his name? Biden. All these guys did certain things that they look at, what's his name? Putin and say, he did it. Okay, well, let's take it chronologically. Are you still alive? Let's go, Bill Clinton. Are you still alive, Hillary Clinton? Let's go. But they don't do that. So, unless you want me to be unfair and unjust, I will condemn Putin. Okay, Putin is a bad dude. But on the same breath, if you're just, you have to condemn others as well. And if you want Putin to be brought in front of a court, like a Nuremberg trials, then you bring the other ones first, chronologically, and then you get to this guy. Until then, no thank you. No thank you. It doesn't mean that two wrongs are doing a right, but I can't stay on the team who sits on biggest, or I don't want to say biggest, but big crimes and accuse a guy who stands in crimes, big crimes as well. I give you whatever you want. My point is, let's start with the beginning. And chronologically, we get to this guy, but they won't. They use the selective justice. We put this Netanyahu here, we put this here, we put Madeleine Albright here, and we put Putin right here. He's the one. Or whomever these guys tell us that we should hate. And I don't comply. Why? I don't like selective justice. Selective justice is not justice. And the ones who promote it, those are fucking assholes. All right, let's move on to the next one. We see how the Americans are, again, rolling the red carpet for this gangster. Ukraine's Zelenskyy visits Pennsylvania ammunition plant to thank voters and ask for more. Always. And the picture is right here. Right here, man. Here's the man. All these guys are working and I don't see diversity. That's bad. He's unsafe. All right, so we have under tight security, Ukrainian president, because he's Ukrainian, as you know, on Saturday visited Pennsylvania ammunition factory to thank the workers who are, they just try to make a living. And their standard of living is decreasing because of you. So thank them for what? From being baboons who are producing one of the most critical needed ammunition for his country's fight to fend off Russian ground forces. Why are the Russians there? Is it because NATO was there? Is it because the agencies and bureaus overthrew a legitimate government of Ukraine, democratically elected government in 2014? Yeah, so then why don't you tell that to the workers first? And tell them that they work, they have a job to create something to kill other people because of some other people who want that to happen. And they blame that guy, but they start history then 24th of February 2022. That's when you need to focus on an undeclared and unprovoked attack by the Russians. They just invaded. Because why? I don't know. It doesn't make sense. There's some crazy. Like the same with the most evil person on this planet. Why did he do that? You can't reason. I don't know. It's something that you can't explain. It's something. No. He was just irrational. Yeah, that's what these guys try to, and they convince your children to think about certain events, historical events, and historical figures. And when they grow up, the kids think that they're educated, and they will vote, and they will think the same way. It's hard to break the cage that you were put in, religiously or intellectually, or how do you want to call it, dogmatically. It's hard. Not that, but it's hard. And you have to have courage. You have to have courage to stand alone against the baboons yelling at you and calling you all kind of names, right? All kind of names. But this is when you really stand for your values. Your values are not bendable or breakable. And the values are as they are, and you all. And you have to have the courage. Courage, remember, courage is the pinnacle of all. Because without courage, you don't have courage to, I don't know, be wise. How do you get wise? By having the courage to look at the truth as reality, to try things. Everything stands on courage. Courage to act. If you don't have courage, you don't act. You don't do it. You keep your mouth shut, do your job, work for the ammunition plant, and go and try to feed your family. While this guy comes over there as a gangster and asks you for more. For why? Because the Russians invaded, not his country, but the Ukrainians. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.